Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Discover a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, wherever podcasts are available.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Don't Blame Me, starring us, Meghan and Melisa.
It is us.
We are here.
Two of, some might say, the greatest minds in the world.
We are philosophers. That is my new pet peeve, by the way. People who put philosopher in their bios, and I'm like,
Socrates, is that you?
literally, I'm like, Plato? Hello, Plato? Excuse me? Like, it's just like, it's one thing to like declare yourself as an ally. It's another thing to declare yourself as a philosopher.
What new ideas are you bringing? What thoughts are you provoking?
Oh, by the way, these aren't people with like a degree in philosophy. These are like people who like make videos on TikTok where they talk. And I'm like, you're a story time.
Well,
Come
I
on.
mean, they can have a degree in philosophy, and that's how you're a philosopher. But
Oh, no. I agree with that. But I also do think that's a little much. But this
Yeah.
one, these people aren't. Like, should I put in my bio, if I was a communications major, do I put in my bio, I'm a communicator?
nah.
Like, what? Even if you have like the greatest things that you're saying, I just feel like that's a title you can't give yourself, and that only happens after you die. Like, I just feel like that's like what happens. I don't know if that's true, but like that is my view, and whatever.
As one of the greatest minds, then, you know, your view valid.
How old, like, when was the era of philosophers? Like those people, like Aristotle and shit?
Aristotle was in 384 BC to 322. Plato was in... No, they were around the same time.
So, like, how do we know their names? Like, are there books?
Because they would go and speak, and then their stories would get passed down. There's an actual word for it, though.
I learned this shit the same time as Greek mythology, and I was not like...
Because they're Greek philosophers, and we need to be taught that they don't separate that some of this is real and some of this is
That's my issue! Is I'm like, all of these sound like the exact same level of plausibility. Like, any teachers who are listening, I hope that they have reformulated that curriculum, because I walked away from that now as an adult going, I don't know which one was real and which one was...
Helena Troy, that was real. I thought Helena of Troy was real up until like recent times.
not. Now, what about the Trojan horse?
It's not real. Like, that shit isn't
See,
real.
fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. Like, you were not specific enough when you were teaching me the shit that this was real and not. Like, it's just, no. It's just too fucking confusing. And it's
Yeah.
also confusing when there's like, we set things in this like eras of being like, but they didn't have this form of communication or this form or this form. We're learning all of this stuff. And I'm like, so how do we know any of this shit? Like, what do you mean?
They're just, basically, there were stories that were told and passed down. One thing about like the Greek philosophers, they were like busts made of their faces. So that's what people think may existed. But like, it's story. And I don't remember what the word is, but it's a word. Like
Someone is like screaming in their car listening to this, being like, this is the word. But see, my question is, do you think someone played an elaborate prank and like some of these people were real? And then it's like, no, that was just folklore. And then some of those people aren't real at all. And it's like, no, they are real. Like, I just feel like we don't factor in the possibility when teaching history that we could have been scammed.
Yeah.
I just think that we need to incorporate more scamming and more wearing of that.
True.
I feel like it doesn't need to be stated, but I just want to state it at any point just to make sure. This applies to this. This does not apply to the people who are like Holocaust deniers and like shit in that time. This is about when we didn't have records of shit and like things, and none of the people who like lived through that are alive now, and we don't have any like the 5th grade education. This is maybe I need to take this up with my elementary school. Maybe that's a high possibility.
What the fuck were these stories called?
But it's just, because I think once we get to like the William Shakespeare and like, you know, or like the Thomas Edison.
Even with Shakespeare, though, there's like a lot of theories that Shakespeare's works were written by Black women that were enslaved, and then he took their works, and then there's other theories that's like who we consider Shakespeare was kind of just like the figurehead of it all, but it was a collection of other people's works.
Yeah, like the Wizard of Oz kind of thing. It was like there's a, you know, there's someone behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm. I thought at first you were talking about the book, The Wizard of Oz, and I was like, I think that was written by one person.
No. I just have questions. And then I watch things like Book of Mormon and like everyone's laughing and like I'm not like pro Mormonism or anything like that. But I just wonder, why are some of these things that we like question as being like, these aren't real. And then why are other things on fucking standardized testing that I need to know as like facts and facts and facts?
Right.
I have questions. Well, thanks for coming to our podcast.
If you have questions about your life, then you can call in.
What a good fucking segue.
Thank you.
Yeah, Weird Advice Podcast. We give wonderful, life-changing, amazing advice because we too are philosophers. And if you want to call in, you can leave us a voicemail at 310-694-0976. And international listeners, you can send us an audio message at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. You have to be 18 or over, have your parents' permission, include your age, no names. It'll all be anonymous. Include your pronouns if you would like to, and we would appreciate that. And write down everything and practice before you record it. So you can time it out, make sure it's under 3 minutes, and you have all of the right information. Because the more information that you give us that is like what we need, the context, the meat of it all, the better advice you will receive. Don't leave out the important stuff. Cut out the stuff that's not that important. And if you do, wonderful.
That's a good philosophy about life in general.
Are we philosophers? Oh my God. And if you do wonderful on all of this and you just score aces across the board, you can receive a diamond. Aww. The very coveted diamond from Melissa. I would say Melissa's diamond, and that sounds a little sexual.
Great. I don't see what the problem is here.
For sure. I just then when I'm deflowering, I go, but that is so pointy and sharp.
But if you say deflower, it is pointy and sharp, but you can. I mean, look at the one on your hand. It's round and smooth. Yeah,
but I would want this at my like vagina.
Sounds like a business opportunity for Goop.
I'm waiting.
They probably already have it.
Truly. I feel like we have discussed random shit enough.
Yeah.
And we can get into the actual episode.
Let's do the update.
Oh, yeah. Update.
You got really excited.
I forgot.
That.
All right. So in my original call, would have been back in November. I was calling to talk about a very loving, amicable breakup that I went through with my partner of like almost 6 years. We had like recently separated and it was like mutual. And I was struggling, I guess, kind of with like how to move on when you still were in love with somebody. And I had just decided that I was going to move across the country. So I was wondering kind of how you guys would suggest me moving forward, making new friends, moving to a city where I don't know anybody, and being single for the first time pretty much since I was like 15. Things have changed since then. And it's so funny because all of my friends are like, there's no wonder why you're calling into that podcast because your life is ridiculous. So essentially, we broke up. In my update, I'm very specific about it being November 23rd, 2021. It's a big day to remember. That was the official like end of everything. So we took some space. We were still like keeping in contact, sort of. I'm really close with his family. So his mom was still reaching out to me like almost every couple of days to like, respond to my Instagram stories and whatever. I was really close with his sister. So she and I were still going to the gym together and keeping in touch. And I was keeping it really low key on social media, trying to be respectful, assuming that like, he's hurting, struggling. This was not an easy thing to go through. And I was doing really well. I have been going to therapy for a couple of months, but I really kicked it into hardcore therapy and started really working through my stuff. I was being really adamant about being very social, seeing my friends, doing good by my body and going to the gym. And I'm honestly, when I say I was thriving, I mean it. I was thriving. And one day I just decided, you know what? This healing thing is going a little bit too well. And I'm in the mood to hurt my own feelings.
Oh, I get there too. Oh, it's relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I did the thing that you're not supposed to do. And I went to his Instagram followers and I started creeping a girl. It's like my intuition told me, click on her name, you're going to find something. So I click on her and she has an open profile and her most recent photo he had liked. So I was like, it was a photo set. So I was like, I'm going to flip through the photo set and just see what's up. Well, I did not expect to see what I found. And I found a picture of what looked like it was her standing in front of a mirror, taking a mirror selfie with a boy kind of wrapped around her, kissing her cheek. And it was the bottom half of his face. And it looked suspiciously like my ex-boyfriend. And I was just thinking, she posted this on New Year's Day. There's no way that it would have happened that quickly. But I did some more creeping and I saw that she had TikTok. So I was like, I'm going to check out her TikTok.
Oh, no.
I was met with a video of them making out in our old bedroom.
Oh.
So he and I lived together for most of our relationship. And it was just a bold-faced video of them making out in our old bedroom. So naturally, I had a meltdown and I called all of my friends and I was very adamant with my friends. I was like, I don't want to talk shit about this girl because first of all, not her problem.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, she's a very beautiful girl. It's not going to make me feel any better to speak poorly about her.
Yeah. Good on you.
Yeah. I was like, let's direct all the negative energy towards that ex-boyfriend. Yeah. So I said this to my friend and she was like, okay, I love you and I respect your wishes, but I just want to let you know that this girl was born in 2003. I don't know. He's 25 and she just turned 19 in October, which legal? Yes. Questionable?
Yeah, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Very. So I was like, oh, okay. That's kind of all I needed to know. So that's where I'm at. I must say what I didn't include in that call is that I called him immediately and I tried to keep my shit together. I was like, hey, I just was met with a video on TikTok of you making out with a girl in our old bedroom. And he you could hear the panic in his voice. He was like, yeah. And I was like, so do you mean to tell me that this didn't overlap with me at all?
Right.
And he was like, no, didn't. And I was like, okay, so a girl is comfortable enough to post photos and videos of you on social media after a month? Or where's, there's a mix up in communication here somewhere. And I feel like I'm not getting the whole story. Needless to say, he did not admit to it being a crossover of the two of us. And I just don't believe him for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's valid. I think that there is a universe in which he's telling the truth and there's a universe in which he is lying and you get to live in whatever universe you want to live in.
Right?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I was like, he was like, it's not like I'm in a relationship with this girl. My parents don't even know about her. Nobody knows about her.
That was going to be my next question because you said you still talk to his mom and his sister.
Yeah.
How old is his sister?
She's 20. She's going to be 29.
Does he have any younger siblings?
No.
Okay.
It's just the two of them. And they live together. So I used to live with the two of them. So she knows about this girl because she's obviously been over at the house, which makes the whole situation even weirder. So yeah, I was not very kind in that phone call. I did make him cry. Not my proudest moment.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah.
Wow. So have you continued contact with his family and sister, or have you kind of cut ties more now?
So I've muted anybody related to him, including him, I've muted them all on social media. But the weird thing is I muted everybody except for his one cousin, because his cousin is the funniest guy I've ever met. And weirdly enough, the night I decided, like, I went to therapy, I talked to my therapist. I was like, I need to just like cut ties and like forget about trying to be friends with him, because clearly like he's disrespecting me.
Yeah.
That night, his cousin posted that there was like this horrible tragedy in their family. So I was like, damn, like now I have to reach out to him because I'm the bigger person and I feel awful. So I reached out to him and he threw this like half-hearted like apology via text and kind of cornered me, because I was like, what am I going to do? Disagree with your apology when there's a tragedy in your family? No, now is not the time and place. So that's kind of where we left it.
Weird. Fucking weird. Yeah,
right?
that age thing. Because like the fact that like he's trying to convince you that like it's either brand new, and I'm like, okay, if it is like a brand new thing with this new girl, then you have had to pursue her so actively, because no 19-year-old girl is going to like suddenly feel like ready to do it. Like that is like,
I don't know. I feel like if it's like an older guy that you...
No, that's what I'm saying. He's pursued you so heavily that you don't have a definite relationship, that you feel confident enough in all of his actions and everything that he said to post this.
But does she know that they don't have a definite relationship?
That's what my question is.
Yeah, I think that like he's had to pursue her so hard or say all of the right things to lead up to that. Like it's just we've all been 19. Like we like
exactly.
You have probably promised me everything. Like you've said all of the right shit, but like you haven't followed through on any of it.
And the thing was, when we like, that was another piece of context that made it into the second call, was that he and I broke up officially in July of 2021. I moved out and then we like tried to make it work from July to November. So I was living at my parents' house, seeing him like once a week, sort of. So in that time, I was like going to therapy, journaling, going to the gym, like seeing my friends. He was going out with his single friends, exploring his options. So I said, did you meet this girl before you and I officially broke up? He goes, yep. And I said, so was it like a switch up situation? Like you just decided to like, you know, trade me in? And he was like, no, I met her in a friendly setting. Meaning what?
Yeah.
Like literally meaning what? So yeah, I ended up telling him that he just like embarrassed me and that like he made me feel like a clown and that he should have just told me instead of like letting me find out this way. And he was like, I knew this would happen. Like I knew one of us was going to find out. And I was like, well, if you knew that was going to happen, why did you let her take a video of you guys making out and then post it on TikTok? Like, he was like, oh, I didn't know.
And also, who the fuck does that?
I know. Right? That's like really embarrassing.
Yeah.
He was like, you know me, because he doesn't have any social media. He just has a business account. And he was like, you know me, like I don't mess with social media like that. I find it cringy. And I was like, you're right, it is cringy. I was like, imagine you found out about me that way, how embarrassed you would be. And then, it was just like, I told everyone's like, their jaw dropped. They're like, you're kidding. And I was like, nope. Imagine.
Dude, I mean, it shows how much more emotionally mature you are, that like you spent all this time doing therapy. Like everything that you've said is like the definition of a therapized person. And then he couldn't prove his unworthiness of you and his immaturity even more by then suddenly like being with a 19-year-old. Like to me, I'm like, oh, okay. Like even if I didn't age out of you now, I would have aged out of you in 2 years, 5 years. Like there was an expiration date on this that had nothing to do with me and everything to do with you.
And the thing, like the biggest issue in our relationship was always that I wasn't like, words of affirmation and physical touch and that kind of thing weren't my love language. And he always like used to throw it in my face. He'd be like, you don't make me feel like sexy. You don't make me feel wanted. And obviously, I mean, on paper, this guy's great. He's 25. He drives a nice car. He owns 2 houses. He owns a business. Of course, any 19-year-old girl is going to worship him.
Yep.
So that's all it comes down. Like, I've come to the conclusion. I'm like, it just comes down to like, you needed someone not on the same like level playing field as you to like look up to you and like kiss the ground that you walk on. And I just was never going to do that for him. So it makes sense, but it was just shocking. But it took him off that pedestal for me, which I needed, like big time. So now I'm like, I'm actually doing okay.
Yeah, because you're like,
Yeah.
I was the best thing about you. Like, I was the best version. I was the best thing about you. And now that we're not together,
Yeah.
this is you.
Yeah.
And like, yikes, I don't want
Yeah.
any part of that.
Yeah.
And like, if his friends and family can condone like that weird of a relationship, and it's like, that says a lot more about you and who you surround yourself with than it does about me. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but yeah.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Well, sorry you had to find out that way, but I'm
Hey,
glad that it's over.
Me too.
it makes for a good story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
I think it was like perfect timing, because now that I'm moving, like, I'm like, you know what? If I had found that out once I had moved, I would have spiraled so hard. So I'm like, get it out of the way, done and dusted. Nothing else this guy can do to hurt me. Over it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, better than ever. And you'll find someone
Right?
so much better.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Oh,
You will.
Yeah.
yeah, you will. I promise. Well, thank you for giving us an update. And
Of course.
we like the entertaining aspect of it, but I hope that this is, I mean, it's obviously your life and you're going to find someone who's so much better and it's going to be all good and something that you can laugh about.
Honestly, it already is. So I'm glad
good.
I could provide some entertainment.
Cool. Well, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Wonderful update. Dramatic.
Very much so. Understatement.
Understatement. Very happy that she's doing well. And fuck that man.
Yeah. Trash.
I'm still waiting for the day that like two separate parties like listen to the podcast, and it's like like the girl, the new 19-year-old is listening and is like, he had a girlfriend who like a live-in girlfriend for 6 years.
But the only way she would know that it was about her is if she knew the girlfriend existed, you know?
Maybe he told her about like
Oh,
the
the
TikTok,
TikTok.
you
Yeah.
know?
That's true. That's true.
And I would hope that you would be like, is this about me? And not like everybody does that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
Also, if you are the 19-year-old that's listening, why are you making these TikToks?
Yeah. And run from
Yeah.
this. Older men, no, not good. Okay. Should we get into our first call?
Yes.
Hi, Meghan and Melisa. Me and everyone else in this story are 24 and use she, her pronouns. I'm calling for advice on how to support my long-distance friend through a medium-distance breakup. For context, my friend has been in a seemingly happy, stable relationship with her girlfriend for over a year. They've been living in different places since September for career reasons, and her girlfriend has been struggling to adjust to her new city and experiencing some depression. My friend has been very supportive of her, and they visited each other regularly since they were only living a few hours away. They planned on moving in together once their respective leases ended, and were both really excited about it. They were even talking about it on the phone the night before the breakup. However, out of nowhere, her girlfriend called my friend and told her that she needed to exit the relationship without really explaining why. They made plans to talk about things after taking some space, but now her girlfriend isn't responding. My friend is completely blindsided and feels like her whole world has been blown up since she's lost both her partner and her plans for the future all at once. She has a lot of abandonment trauma from past relationships, which her girlfriend knew and had reassured her that she would never leave her out of the blue. Now this is exactly what's happened, and my friend is so crushed. She knows that her girlfriend's depression may have contributed to the breakup, but that just makes her feel worse because she doesn't want the person she loves to struggle with this alone. We live in different states, so I can't be there for her in person, and I'm struggling to find the right things to say when we FaceTime. I mostly listen and give her space to process and try to be supportive, but I feel like nothing I say helps and sometimes just makes it worse. I want to honor her pain while also helping her heal, but I feel like I'm failing at both. I've told her that I'm not sure if I'm helping and to tell me how I can best support her, but I think it's just too raw for her right now to even begin thinking about feeling better or how to do that. How do I balance validating her feelings while also reassuring her that this isn't her fault? Thank you so much. I love and appreciate you both.
Oh, this is hard.
I know. I can hear the caller's voice breaking.
Yeah.
Until you're going through it too. Also, you can get a diamond.
I think that like this might be like a hard thing for you to hear, but I think in these situations, especially when it's this fresh, you can't really help. The only thing you can do is accidentally hurt. Like there is nothing that you can do or say that will make her feel better. And that's not exclusive to you. There's nothing that anyone could say or do. There's nothing that she can personally do in this moment that will make her feel better. And that's just kind of like the early stages of a breakup. And it is possible, though, that you could say things that can backfire and hurt. And I think that, like, if you've already asked, like, what can I do to help, blah, 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 my first advice is just, like, don't make it about you at all. Like, the whole, like, I feel like I'm making it worse, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can apologize if you said something that was, like, really didn't help and, like, really hurt in the moment. And be like, I'm really sorry I said that. I should not have said that. And I'm really going to work on that. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm, like, wholeheartedly apologize. And then just listen. Like, it's really hard to, like, watch somebody that you love and care about go through something really sucky. And, like, it's natural that your reaction is to, like, want to cheer them up and, like, want to, like, you know, reassure them that everything's going to be okay and, like, all of that stuff. But that is not the stage that she's at right now. And that sucks. But you do kind of have to, like, bite your tongue and just listen. And, like, it's okay if the only thing that you're saying is, like, I'm so sorry. That really sucks. Like, I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve that. Like, I'm really, really sorry. And just letting her process it. And, like, it doesn't make you a bad friend if, like, that's the only thing that you're saying back or you're not contributing much to the conversation. And then if, like, she's not talking much, I think, like, you can be like, hey, like, there's this new show that's coming out that looks really good. Like, I'm going to start watching it. Like, do you want to watch it on FaceTime together? Like, do you want to do that stuff? Like, the kind of things, like, if she doesn't want to talk, having those distractions, like those distraction hangouts that you normally do in person to try and do that kind of stuff. But it is kind of like, you kind of just, like, fall on your face a lot when trying to help with a friend with dealing with the breakup, because you don't necessarily know what stage they're at and, like, what role they want you to play in it.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, everything that I was thinking, like, this is what I'm going to say, then you said it. And it's also, like, it's kind of weird in new-ish breakups because sometimes, and this, I'm speaking from experience where I was kind of trying to be that friend that's, like, trying to say all the right things and giving all this advice. And then, like, they end up working things out and get back together soon after it. And I'm not saying that will happen, but it's still a possibility that it could. Like, there was a misunderstanding or your friend's girlfriend, you know, thought about a few things and then had to work on some things for themselves, and then they end up getting back together. But yeah, with Meghan, where, you know, be very careful about the things that you say because they can be detrimental, and it could be like you're saying things that aren't necessarily true to the situation. Like, you just try to find the words that you feel are right to say, and then it ends up hurting things and making them worse. So
yeah, 100%.
Just be there. I wouldn't even, like, don't really say or talk, just listen.
Yeah, I don't think there's a right way, but there is a wrong way. And, like, the goal is to not do the wrong way. And how to not do that is literally just, like, you shut up and you listen and you wait for them to ask you what you think about it, and then you filter from there. And then I think if you are within, like, driving distance or something like that, and you're able to, like, ask, like, hey, if you want me to come down for a weekend, that'd be really, like, fun. We can hang out, like, do anything like that. I think it's nice. And even just, like, you know, sending a little letter to be like, thinking of you, like that stuff. Like, there are those, like, little things that you can do, but there is, it is so not about you at all. So, like, the less you are involved in this part of it, the better. Like, you are just right now, like, a shoulder, you are someone to listen to and all of that. And you don't want to, like Melissa said, you don't want to get ahead of the stages. And this is, like, advice for anyone talking about their friends going through a breakup. You are never the first person to talk shit about their ex. And you shouldn't even be, like, they should be talking consistent shit about their ex for weeks before you can chime in and just agree with them, or just, like, say something that they've already said. But it is, like, a very delicate balance because you don't know the relationship at all in that, as much as you think that you do in that situation. Yeah. But I feel for both of you. It's really hard. And yeah, It's rough. And it also seems like a relationship that moved pretty fast for a year. And that can be like a very hard whirlwind to kind of come out of.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next call.
Let's do it.
Hi, Meghan and Melisa. I'm a 28-year-old woman, she, her pronouns. I recently realized I'm bisexual, and while I'd like to start hooking up with women, I've so far only had sex with cis-het men. I didn't start having penetrative sex until I was 22 and have only had 6 partners. 2 were boyfriends and 4 were hookups. They've all been horrible at touching or fingering me. I masturbate a lot, so I know what I like, and I have made a concerted effort to tell them what I like, but they either end up trying once, not succeeding, and giving up, or not trying at all. Most of the time, they're just rubbing so hard and fast it feels like they're trying to start a campfire. Have I just had bad luck so far, or are all men trash? Should I just abandon men and focus on exploring women? I know you'll both tell me that these men have been garbage, and that if I keep looking, I might find a good one, but that feels like a waste of time right now. I know that with every sexual relationship, there needs to be a discussion of what people prefer, but I'm truly wondering if any women out there find a guy who's great on the first time. I'm currently just trying to find someone to hook up with, not a relationship. Obviously, that depends on what wave of COVID we're in, but I'd appreciate any help you guys have. Thank you. Bye.
Just date women.
The answer is, like you asked, are all men trash? Yes, but there's different levels of trash. Do you want to share our levels of trash?
There is steaming hot garbage. That's what you see. You avoid it. You avoid it so far. You don't even walk down the same block where you have that.
There's
it's
just
like,
a stench. Like you turn up, like your nose turns up and you just turn around.
It makes the hairs in your nostril light on fire.
Yes.
And it's like a wet garbage. Disgusting. Disgusting. You want to douse your body in bleach to like get it off of you.
Yeah.
And then there is regular garbage, which like is smelly. It's like sucks, but like you can take it out. Like it's not like restaurant refried beans, like 7-day-old refried beans, like up to your knees garbage. It's not that. It's not like moldy, but like it's not good. Like it's still really gross. And like you could do without it. Like you don't need it. And then we have like, nicer like recycles. And that is one that you're like, okay, it's a par for the course. I am glad that I'm recycling and this is a doable thing, but it's not like adding anything. Like it's just like we're processing the garbage in a better way. And then we have compost.
Compost, yes.
Which gives back to the earth. It creates new life. But at the end of the day, it is still garbage. It just happens to be the most palatable kind of garbage. But it still smells.
It still smells, but like you said, it's making the world a slightly better, not slightly, a better place.
Yeah.
But it's still
It's not damaging as much to the world. So
you might get surprise tomatoes.
Exactly. But like at the end of the day, it's still garbage. So like all men fall under that. But I, as a straight person, what you are describing as like the issues and the difficulties of like dating men or whatever, you seem checked out and kind of done. Date women. Like date women. Like I think that like you don't need to kind of search if you're like newly just like realizing that you're bi and have only ever had sex with men. You don't need to like knock down every door and like find the guy that's great and like all of that kind of shit. Like right now, it seems like dating men is kind of like a chore and a headache for you. And you're also into women. So I think like, why not? Why not? Like you can find, like, there are great guys out there. There are guys who like will do a great job on the first try. And like, yes, I think that you have come across like repeatedly bad ones. But I think statistically, I would say I'm going to assume that women relationships probably have a higher percentage of like orgasm earlier on than heterosexual relationships. Like that's like a very non-educated, no substantiated, none of that. But you could do your own theories. You could conduct your own research.
But also like on top of that, you've been dating a lot of men or sleeping with a lot of men that aren't listening to you. Like you are specific. You know what you want. You're specific about what you want. There are guys that are out there that good on the first try, few and far between, but also like, even if they're not good for you the first time, the fact that they're not listening is the problem.
Yeah.
It's not even like the initial sex. It's the fact that they're not listening to what you want. So you're dating guys that aren't communicating and aren't here for your pleasure. They're doing what they think is good because that's what they saw or heard, but they're not listening to the person that they're in the bed with. So
yeah, this isn't about like necessarily the mechanics of said guys. It's about like the men themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that like right now you've only ever been with men, but let's say if that was like the flip side, my question, I'm trying to bring the patriarchy into this. Do you feel like trying over and over and over and over again with these men, would you be doing that same thing with women in this circumstance? Like, is this, I don't want to say, because like that's like not my place at all, but there's like this term like compulsory heterosexuality or whatever. And that's like helpful for people who are never, I don't want to say, this is not me putting words in your mouth, and I can't say, nor do I think this is your experience at all, but something I've read about this that was really insightful is that because the world is built like for the patriarchy, it's like built for men, that even when you are someone who isn't specifically like dating like straight cis heterosexual men, that the patriarchy influences it in all different kind of ways. And I think that like, is the patriarchy influencing how you are going about dating? Like, is that part of what the reason why you are seeking out men who don't communicate with you well? Like, are you unintentionally going out of your way to date guys who like don't listen to you and like don't really care about communicating with you and like don't really care about like your pleasure and your feelings? And does that translate to how you personally feel about your own pleasure and your own feelings? Like, do you feel like heard and validated in your own desires? And then I think like you could spend years trying to find a guy who's like goes down, like is perfect in bed on the first date. I also think that like it'll be years trying to find like a woman too who's great, that or anyone. Like I think it's like being good at sex is more about how they feel about you as a person. And the more you get to know somebody, the better sex will be. But it's who do you want to get better at sex with? Like the first time you have sex with one of these dudes, and you're like not that into it, and it's like not going well, and like you can tell they're not into it, like, do you want to try and make it work? Like, it's how I feel about like long-term relationships and anything like that. And like even just like pleasure in general, it's the bumps are going to come. It's not going to be easy all the time. Who do you want to figure that shit out with? Like, who do you care enough that like it doesn't feel like a chore? It did feel like you're invested in this. And I think that like it feels like, just based on your tone and how you're talking about it, I feel like you're kind of asking for permission to stop dating men, like, and to like kind of be like done with men for a time being. And I think that's like fully fair and valid. Like, you know what you want. And I think if you sleep with a guy and it's like sucks after the first date, like if you feel like it's a chore to try and make it get better by the second one, and you're not excited to try and make it get better, then be done. Like, you don't have to give people like chances and chances and chances until you really want to. And like, that doesn't have to be like your MO going into it constantly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you'll find the person that you like really want it to work with. And then like that communication will feel like you'll feel very heard. It'll be receptive. It'll be responsive and all of that. But not all men are bad at sex.
Yeah. Your partner should want to pleasure you. Like, they should want to know what you like. And I don't necessarily think it is a sex issue, but I also think it's a picking issue and what you're willing to tolerate.
Yeah. I think like if you can't tell that whoever you're having sex with, that their number one goal, or at least their number two goal is your pleasure, then be done.
And see, I subscribe to like, their number one goal should be your pleasure. And then my number one goal should be their pleasure. And if we're both on the same page as that, then the sex should be spectacular.
Yeah. And even if it doesn't mean that the execution is there, like the intention is there, and then eventually it will happen and it will get there. But like if he doesn't care and like, or they don't care, whoever you're having sex with, like if that is like not a priority for them, it's not going to be a priority for them.
Yeah.
And it's not your responsibility to like teach them that it should be a priority. But best of luck sorting through that trash.
Yes. All right. Time for a break now.
Okay. We will be right back. And we are back. Shall we get into the rest of the calls?
We shall.
Hi, Megan, Melissa, and possible guest. I'm a college student. I'm 21 years old, and I use she, her pronouns. Recently, I started to attend Alcoholics Anonymous meetings as I've been struggling with controlling my drinking since I first was exposed to it in high school. Last semester, I ruined a friendship and was in the worst place I've ever been mentally and checked myself into the hospital at one point. Things are going slightly better now. I'm back at a full credit load of courses, and I'm planning to go to graduate school in the fall, and I recently adopted a cat. My issue is that I don't know how to approach the conversation I want to have with friends about my choice not to drink. Being in college, and especially the state and city I'm in, there's a huge drinking culture and pressure to drink. I felt peer pressured multiple times, and instead of just saying that I am committing to sobriety, I say I'm not drinking for the night or make up some other excuse. I feel lonely because the people in my life outside of AA and other recovery groups that I'm in don't know about this challenging journey that I'm going through. I worry that if I tell people, I won't be invited to social events where alcohol is present, which makes up a large majority of the time I spend with my friends. Part of me feels embarrassed and shameful, and I have issues with asserting myself, definitely related to my low self-esteem, depression, and pretty severe social anxiety. I'm in therapy, and I'm on antidepressants, and I have been sober for 38 days. My question for you is, do you have any advice for having these conversations and accepting myself for where I'm at and not judging myself for my past? Thank you.
First of all,
as a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But at Realm, we also sell some pretty cool merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. When you think about successful businesses like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, an often overlooked secret is the business behind the business that makes selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. That's because nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret that's definitely worth talking about is that Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%. That's more happy customers and way more sales going. If you're hoping to grow your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah, that's amazing.
Very impressive. I very much understand you. And it sucks. Like, this really, really sucks because drinking is so heavily involved in our culture in general, but especially in your early 20s. And the right people will not care at all. And any time that people feel like this weird threatening thing about like someone not drinking to that, those people who are like upset or uncomfortable with that, they're not upset or uncomfortable with you. They're upset and uncomfortable because they're having to look and reevaluate their own relationship with alcohol. And people who have a healthy relationship with alcohol do not give a absolute shit if you are not drinking. And I mean people who are actively drinking who don't have like an unhealthy relationship. But people who are sober will wholeheartedly, hopefully for the most part, completely understand. And I think that it's a very good test for finding good friendships is by like being like pretty upfront and honest. I don't know what level of things that you feel comfortable with. I fucking hate hanging out with drunk people. Like, I hate it. Like, it's so annoying. Like, I just think that like there are some times where it's like a level of like tipsy that's fine, but like once it's like a group of people who are like sloppy drunk, like I don't want to spend time with you and hanging out. And a vast majority of my friends drink. A large majority of them also don't really at all. And it's just about hanging out with people without alcohol. And so very valid if you don't want to go to the events where alcohol is, even if it's not like a part of being worried about like relapsing. If it's even if it's like years down the road, or that's not something that you're factoring in now, that's a part of like your journey, it can also just be not fun. And that's like a very valid thing that you wouldn't want to hang out in those settings. But if that's the only way that people are hanging out, those are not the people that you want to hang out with. Like if all of their social interactions are resting on and involve alcohol, those are not the right friendships for you. And to be fair, those really aren't the right friendships for anybody. Like if your relationships with people you can only tolerate or you only enjoy hanging out with them when you're drunk, that's not really true deep friendships. Those are like your buddies. Like when I stopped drinking, like there are people I literally never saw ever again because like those people I would just hang out with like every night going out. But I'm like, we have nothing in common. Now we have like none of this other shit here. But I think that you said that you've got social anxiety and you deal with that stuff. So like it's hard to say that like, I don't know. I feel like it's unhelpful advice for me to be like, plan something and being like, hey, like let's all come over to like my place and we'll have like a game night or like hang out. Like, do you want to go see a movie or something? But I think that the more honest you are right off the bat with being like, oh, I don't drink. Like I don't drink. And whether or not you feel comfortable saying like, I'm sober is up to you. And that's also something that you can grow with in getting to know people. Like you can say, oh, I'm not drinking tonight. And then the next time be like, yeah, I know I don't really drink at all. And then a couple weeks later, you're like, oh, yeah, actually, I'm sober. Like I've been sober for like X amount of days. And that can be up to you to decide when you feel comfortable and safe with new people and friends before you let them know that, because like it is like a vulnerable thing. It's nothing to be embarrassed about at all. It should be something you should be like incredibly proud of. But it is a vulnerable thing that like you have every right to kind of withhold that information or give it out in doses that you feel ready and comfortable with. Again, I think that like the thing that happens when you get older is you start to know people who get sober later in life and who start to go through that kind of stuff. And people, sadly, sometimes it takes a lot of people until that to kind of be empathetic and understanding of it. And there will always be somebody your age, whether it's in your direct friend circle or your exterior friend circle, who's not that into drinking. There will always be that. And like you just being the first person who says, I'm not going to drink. I don't really drink. Every time I've done that, every single time, there's always been one person who's like, oh my God, thank God, then I'm not going to drink. I don't want to drink then. Yeah. It opens up that door to it. And it's hard, but like everybody knows somebody who deals with dependency on alcohol or has or at some point in their life. And eventually, like it might take a few tries, but like you will be able to find those friend groups of people where you hang out at your place. But it's also about where you meet people too. And like if they want to hang out, the first thing that they say maybe is they invite you to like, hey, we're all going to a bar. You can say it right off the bat, oh, I don't drink, but like, would you want to go to a movie this weekend?
Or a restaurant where they might serve alcohol, but there's still food there. So like you can eat, they can drink if they want to, but it's not the main thing that you're doing while you're at that place.
Yeah. And if their entire social life is alcohol, those are not people.
No, those are people that their whole personality is alcohol. And I kind of went through this when I was in college too. I drank a lot and I might have one drink a year now at this point. And so when I started to question, like, am I friends with all these people just because we all drink together? And so like I would suggest, and I was realizing you came to that realization that you should go to AA. I came to the realization that maybe like us drinking this much and that's all we do together isn't like the thing. And so I would start suggesting, hey guys, how about we not have like a let's hang out and not drink and just hang out. We might watch a movie, we order food and do other things. And then when you're inviting friends out and you invite them to go do activities that don't involve alcohol. You can go to like an exercise class together. You can go to the park. I think that when you're in college, especially because drinking is something that you weren't allowed to do for so long, and then you get essentially the permission to do it, then you feel like you have to go hard every night and you don't. And I think once people get to that realization that you don't need to drink to have fun, then that's when you get your true friend.
Yeah. And again, I have been so many places where people who have been like, hey, I heard you don't drink. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, damn, I really want to stop. I really don't want to do it anymore. Like all of that. And it just is the fact that like people think that everybody around them has a healthy relationship with alcohol and everything's fine. And it is purely statistically, it's just a matter of years before more people start getting sober and dealing with all of that stuff. And I think that like the good people and the people who are like, not even just good, but the people who are ready for you, who are good friends for you, and you can be a good friend too, will be understanding of that now. You don't have to wait out these friendships and hope that they eventually kind of get it. You don't have to mold yourself and your sobriety around other people's comfortability. It's about you. Like it's about what you are comfortable with. And if you have to sacrifice, oh, they only ever hang out at these house parties and there's always just a ton of alcohol, that's all they do. Those aren't the friends. You don't need to like position your life around that. You don't need to put yourself in places where you are not comfortable. There are other people. There are other people and other friends, and it might just take a little bit longer. And that sucks. And it shouldn't be like that. I really hate how normalized drinking is like in our culture. And
drinking because you want to you feel like that makes you have fun, you know, like.
Yeah, I hate the wine mom stereotype.
Yeah.
I hate that I have to drink with my kids thing. Like, I think every age that we are, like, alcohol is ingrained as, like, a thing that is so constantly prevalent in how to get through the day. But you go to, like, another country where they're allowed to drink when they can look over the table, and it's not the same type of culture because it's just something that, like, enhances the meal, essentially. Yeah. And it's something to be used in like a food kind of related thing, not like a constant partying sort of thing.
A coping mechanism to like, you know, be better in other people's eyes, be more fun, be more entertaining. No.
Yeah. And your brains aren't fully developed. And like that is something that like is so, I think if we have better mental health treatments and like screenings and help with that, we will have far less binge drinking for people under the age of 25 because it is a coping mechanism and it's not a healthy one or a long-term one. And I think that like being the first at anything in your friend group is really, really hard. And this one is especially hard because right now alcohol and social situations are just tied together.
Yep.
And it's just about taking a step back and finding the people who aren't like that. And like, maybe it's finding an AA meeting of like people under like 30 or under 20. It's like under 25. They those.
Might even have one at your school.
Yeah. But they do have like AA meetings for like, they have specific AA meetings for women. They have meetings for people under like 25. Like, you can find those aspects of people. And it doesn't mean that those people that you meet need to be your like social circle and your friends, but it can be like, what do you do for fun? How do you meet people who are also trying to like talk to other people or even people who are a little bit older than you who got sober around like the same age that you are right now and ask them how they made friends or like what the friendships they had were and places that they met people and that stuff and like utilize that community and no bullshit with these people. You don't need to coddle any of them. It's about your comfortability, not theirs. And if they're uncomfortable, that's about them.
Yep.
And congratulations again.
Congratulations.
It's a very hard thing to do. And you're doing wonderful. In the words of Kris Jenner, you're doing amazing, sweetie.
Okay.
Did you think I had like an inspirational Kris Jenner quote at the top of my head?
You were really about to bust out some like real.
I just say a Maya Angelou quote.
Philosophical.
Oh,
to
God.
stay on topic.
Do you think Kris Jenner will be considered a philosopher?
I think those people that are obsessed with the Kardashians think so.
It feels subjective.
Yeah.
I can't wait to dive into philosophers after this.
All right. Last call.
Hi, Meghan and Melisa. I am a 22-year-old woman and I use she, her pronouns. I'm calling today because I can't ride. Pretty much since I started having sex, I've tried to ride. I've had various partners and have never been able to figure it out. At first, I thought maybe it was just the size of my partner, but I've had sex with bigger dicks and smaller dicks, and nothing seems to do the trick. I'm currently in a relationship with a 24-year-old cis man who uses he, him pronouns. Our relationship is new, and I've shared with him that I can't ride. He doesn't care. He says we don't have to ever try that position, but it is something I want to figure out how to do. In the past, I've gotten really frustrated with myself, and my partners have laughed. Don't get me wrong, I'm very pro-laughter in the bedroom, but this felt more pointed than just shared silliness. I have no doubts in my mind that my current partner is different. He's so much better than any man I've ever been with, but yet I have this hesitancy because of my previous partners. I told him about that, and he reassured me that he wouldn't laugh at me and reminded me that this isn't a deal breaker for him, and if I can't ride, I can't ride. I'd love if you two could give me tips on how to learn how to ride. I've watched YouTube videos, but I still can't figure it out, and it seems like people focus on what to do once you're already on the dick, but I literally can't get it in. And I also, once I'm there, I'm just lost. I don't know. My body does not know how to move in the right way. If you have any ideas or suggestions, that would be really great. I've considered buying a dildo and practicing, but I haven't done so yet. Let me know what you think. Thank you.
All right.
This seems about the angle of your vagina.
This is what I was going to say. I think it's an angle. If you can't get on it, I would start on my knees and hold the dick to guide it into how it should go.
I will say to anybody, if you are riding a dick, I recommend one of you, preferably the person riding, you hold it and guide the dick. Because
I think that you, especially because you don't, I'm talking specifically to the caller, like you can't get it. You can't figure out the angle of which it goes in. You need to go, you can't just like plop it in. You got to go slow and figure out how your body curves. I think getting a dildo is a good call, but you should be guiding it inside of you, lowering down.
Because every vagina is different and also every dick is different.
Every
so like,
different dick. So like you can't ride the same dick the same way.
No. And so the issue getting on and mounting it that way, yeah, I think a dildo is a great way to figure that out. You can also like, to be fair, you can also like, depending on where you start to have issues with it getting in, like, is it at the beginning? Is it at the end? Because if it's like right at the beginning, you can figure that out with your fingers. Like you can figure out that way. But if it's more along the lines of like, oh, we're solid for a second and then we're not, think about it that way. Think about like, you can use a tampon, like when you have your period next time, like
figure out your slope.
Figure out your slope and then like, you know, do some math calculations, look at the trajectory of his
Pythagorean
dick.
theorem.
PEMDAS.
Yeah, all that. But yeah, that would be my advice for mounting. Number 2, there are different ways to ride a dick. There are different positions that your legs can be in, your feet can be in. It all just depends on what you like. You can be somebody that likes to go up and down. You can be a humper. There's different things. So I think, I don't know what you're doing, but if you're specifying the riding part, I think it's because you're bouncing up and down. And that might not work for you, especially if you can't get the dick in right.
Yeah. And here's what I will say. I think that the best thing to do to start riding is similarly to mounting where you're getting on is utilizing your knees because like it's kind of the same with like different positions of like doggy style where it's like this can like hit your intestines and like your brain
it
and
feels
you
like it, yes.
Yeah, like and maybe medically no but like so you can control the depth of that and that is like where I say like being on your, having enough weight on your knees that it is like you are the one essentially hinging on instead of like bouncing up and down. It's more of a hinge.
Yeah.
And then the first thing I would say, the number one thing that like biggest advice for riding a dick is ride a dick for your pleasure.
For your pleasure, yes.
Do not ride a dick for him.
Man's gonna like it no matter what you're doing. You can even, it could be like humping it, bouncing, or circling too is another thing, which actually that might probably be easier for you when you're first figuring things out too.
But like truly use the writing to come. Use the writing for you to get off and in the nicest way possible. Like this is for you. And that is so hot for dudes where it is that like, and then from there you can understand, okay, where's the position of like my clit in comparison to here? Which part of these things feel good for me? And then we can get into like the fancier stuff with like writing or whatever. But if you are not having fun while writing, it is a very like, that's a difficult position if it's like, it can be so much more uncomfortable. It can hurt your knees. It can hurt your hips and all that. And you can just get fatigued and not enjoy it. So if you are choosing to ride, it should be because you are it should be for you, not him. Doesn't mean that it always is, but like
he's gonna still get off. Yeah.
And like every sex position that you do, like it's the same thing I feel about like blowjobs or like going down on someone. Like you should only be doing those things because it is mutually beneficial for you as the person giving that. Doesn't mean that like you're going to orgasm or you're going to finish doing that, but it's because you get off on doing this. You should never be doing anything in the bedroom at all sex-wise that you are purely just doing because they want you to do it and you are not enjoying it and you don't want to do it. So if you can find, if like the first time that you are riding a dick, it is because you want to figure out how it feels good for you and which position feels good for you, grab a toy, like put that, if you know where the position is, but there's like certain angles that are like gonna work and be better and figure it out that way. When you get tired, if you're like enjoying it, but it's like tired, like lean over and kiss him, do that for a bit. Like you don't have to be up all the time.
Yeah, you don't have to be up, but there's also different ways because you can go back so that you're like you're still on top, but your feet are flat on the bed and your knees are bent and you lean back on your arms.
Yep.
And you can use your arms and your feet to help.
Yeah.
And I was going to say also like kind of like, the frog position when you're stretching, going that way and then using your thighs more.
Oh, my hips would break. My hips
but I usually have the guy hold, and it's more like a rocking as opposed to moving up and down.
Yeah. So I think that the biggest thing is like the first thing that you do is you mount and you figure out how to mount. And it seems like your boyfriend is like very like knows all of this stuff that might take a minute, that it's like you're going to call the shots. Like he's not going to just like suddenly hold your hips and then just like jackhammer into you.
Right.
And then like, it's not about up and down. Like start with circle and do it slowly. Again, figure out at what point of the circle you're like, oh, that feels good.
Yep.
And then you can do whatever motion and combination of motions that feels good for you there and just continue it. And then if you get tired, the leaning down, you can like lean back and like try all of that stuff. But it is not about being on top. I think that people think that being on top is a performance. And you are like performing and doing something for them. No, the reason why people rave about like a girl being on top is because a girl is essentially like riding your dick to come.
Yeah.
Like that's like what that is. And you're seeing a visual face to face of you're just there and a girl is literally like pleasing herself on your dick. Like that's what that is. And that's why it is like so renowned as being this like wonderful hot thing. And the second that I realized that this like was not about performing and this wasn't about like putting in all of this effort and like feeling stupid or like, do you know what I mean? Like feeling like you have to like, there's a good way to do it and a bad way to do it and realize that it's, oh no, it's just about me.
Right.
That's when it becomes like the best thing ever.
Yep.
It's about you.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Also, I sent Megan this little it was a TikTok of this contraction. Did you watch it?
I'm trying to remember. I think so.
I told you, I was like, since you get tired on top, but it was a contraption where it was like essentially like an assist that like goes over. It had like legs on it and it had little straps for you to rest your legs, and it had like a little trampoline so it bounced. So you're essentially sitting on it, and then there's a hole for the guy to be on underneath it. So I'll find the TikTok again and share it.
Truly, I love being on top. It's the greatest thing ever. It's so quick and I'm like, done, so amazing, great. But like, it's just, after that, I'm done. Like, I don't want to, because I also have such bad hips that like most likely afterwards, one of my legs is numb. And like, my hips are clicking and like, I can't really walk that well afterwards. And I feel like a sack of bones. So like, that is not how we are starting. We're ending. Like, this is the end. It's a wonderful, it's great. But like, this is the end. Thank you so much for coming. This is great. Oh, that's funny. But I have faith in you. If you want to do it, it'll be good. But yeah.
She wants to do it. We just got to find the right entry point and then the right movements. Yeah. There's no one size fits all for this. You got to figure this. Your current partner seems like that they're willing to be patient with you. So
yeah. It's about you.
Yeah, his pleasure will come from you taking control.
Exactly.
All right.
So now it's time for Don't Blame Them.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we have a listener call in with their own advice pertaining to a call from a previous episode. Maybe they have personal experience with it, or they just have some insight that they would like to share.
Hi, Meghan and Melissa and everyone else listening. I'm calling for the Don't Blame Them. For the last episode with the person that called in saying that they were having problems with their first time and their boyfriend staying hard. And I actually went through something very similar to this. I was talking to who is now my boyfriend, and he was unable to get hard, and he didn't tell me about it right away because he was nervous. And then he eventually told me after a couple months of us not having sex and me kind of being confused on what was going on. And he was having anxiety performance, and he actually ended up going to the doctor and getting on anxiety medication for it. He was really embarrassed about it, and it had nothing to do with me. He had been in relationships previously, and so had I, but he was just nervous about having sex with someone else for the first time, and he just kind of really internalized that, and it just got to the point where he just could not do it. So he got on the anxiety medication, and then we talked about it. And after he told me about it, we just tried to make each other comfortable, and it was fine after that. And we've been dating for almost 3 years. So it can be really awkward, but if you just work through it together, it won't be a problem. I hope that helps. Thanks.
That was great.
Wonderful.
The wonderful pistachio. What do they say in that commercial?
Huh?
The pistachio commercial. They're like the wonderful something pistachio.
The wonderful world of pistachio?
I don't think it's world, though.
Okay. Well, that is it for our episode. If you would like to leave us a review, we would love that. We appreciate a 5-star review. It makes us so happy, makes our day. And if you want to call in for an upcoming episode, you can leave us a voicemail at 310-694-0976. International listeners, send us an email at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. And if you're listening this long, head on over to the Instagram and comment who you think a modern day philosopher is. You can be as funny or as serious as you wish, and it'll be even funnier if we decide that the ones that are obviously joking are serious and the ones that are serious are joking.
I'm going to read a review real quick.
Okay.
All right. This is from Abs2597. Says, love it. Love the inclusivity and how much of a safe space this is.
Oh. Yay. That makes me happy. That is the number one goal with this podcast. We hope you all enjoyed. Follow us on Instagram, follow our own socials. Stay tuned on Thursday and go subscribe to our other show, What Am I Wrong? It's a wonderful, wonderful piece of content.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an update, shoot us an email, and we would love to have you back on the podcast. And we will see you next time. Oh, and everybody say happy belated birthday to Melissa. Well, because your birthday is tomorrow, the day we're recording this.
Yeah. This comes out on Monday. Yeah.
Yeah. So know that her birthday was last Wednesday and wish her a happy birthday.
Thank you.
Of course.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Don't Blame Me is a production by me. Executive produced by Melissa DeMonts and Diamond Imprint Productions. Edited by Coco Lawrence. Post-production sound by Chris Henry. Production assistance by Melanie D. Watson. Music by Ryan Hunter and Giacomo Picasso.
Listening to a podcast should be time well spent, and I promise it will be if you'll give this podcast a try. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in every episode, I talk with leading experts on topics I know you will find fascinating. From why people can't keep secrets, what your favorite music says about you, why your pet acts in strange ways, and so much more. Something You Should Know is designed to give you information you can use in your life and give you great intel that you can share with others. I'm told it's a binge-worthy podcast. And with over 1,000 episodes, there's a lot to binge on. Something You Should Know has been ranked in the top of the Apple Podcast charts consistently for a long time. I know you're going to like this. I just need to get you to try it. Something You Should Know. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a founder of the Go Kid Go network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. Look for The Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.